We are going to talk about all those popular diets you see, all the ones that are popular, all the ones that are mainstream, maybe that celebrities are endorsing, all these big name diets that you've heard, maybe you've tried. Okay, we're going to talk about what exactly are they, okay, because I'm sure you've heard of them, but you don't necessarily know about them. And then do they actually work? Okay, so we're going to really open up kind of a can of worms on this whole diet situation, okay, because it's important that you are informed and you don't get tricked anymore by fancy advertising. Sound good? All right, so first and foremost, I will start out with the big buzzword that everybody seems to know now, the keto diet, okay? So show of hands, who has heard of the keto diet, ketogenesis? I'm pretty sure everybody on planet Earth, even people in the rainforest who've never had communication with people, have heard about the keto diet. So it's super popular, okay? Now, do you guys know what it is exactly? Do you guys have any idea what it actually is, or just kind of what you've heard from people? So type in the comments what you think the keto diet is, or what you think ketogenesis means. So high fat diet, low carb diet, you've heard lots of people talk about it. So the thing about, I will say this, the thing about diets is that it's kind of like broken telephone. Because you hear it's so popular, so many people try it, and then you talk to every person that's tried it, and they tell you something different. So you have to be very cautious when you're learning about diets from other people, because it's like broken telephone, right? So you guys pretty much got it down. So the keto diet is a low carb, high fat diet. Pretty straightforward. That's pretty much it, okay? Has anybody tried some variation of keto, either on their own, they bought a program, they tried with a friend, maybe they tried it for a day, a week? Who has tried keto? Okay. Who had an unsuccessful experience trying keto? Keep your hand up. Yes, yes. Let's talk to Cecilia. Cecilia, unmute yourself. I'm calling you out. I always love calling you out. Your faces are hilarious. Tell me about your experience with keto diet.
It was more of just like plugging in some of the meal plans. My friend and I put one together and we just kind of tried the meals. Initially, quick results.
Yep.
And then as soon as there was a little like glitch in the programming or the meal planning, I guess, it just started coming back on because it didn't stay in ketosis.
Love it. So that story is literally like the thousands of other stories I've heard about keto. So that's pretty much it, guys. So if you've tried keto, you know it's pretty quick results, right? You'll drop like 5-10 pounds pretty quickly in like a week. But if anything is that good, usually it's too good to be true, right? So the whole basis behind the keto diet, like I was saying, is low carb, high fat. And actually, to get your body into ketogenesis, which is the goal, okay, I believe you have to have under 20 grams of carbs per day, okay? So when I say carbs, do you guys know what a carbohydrate is? What do you guys think carbs mean, or what are they? Type in the comments, what is a carbohydrate, okay? It's a buzzword. It is thrown around all the time. I think people get confused as to what this actually means. Like, what is a carbohydrate, right? People are scared of it. What is it? So fruits, veggies, yep, macromolecule, breads, sugar, fruit. Yes, beautiful. So basically, on the simple level, a carb is a sugar, okay? And of course, you guys know there's good sugars and there's bad sugars. Healthy and unhealthy, right? But carbohydrates are sugars, and you can find them in fruits, you can find them in vegetables, and you can find them in grains. So like lentils and rice and all that, okay? Very, very straightforward. So basically, the keto diet is restricting you to under 20 grams of carbs per day, okay? Generally speaking, to get your body into true ketogenesis, okay? And when I say ketogenesis, all that means is your body is burning fat instead of carbs as its main fuel source. And I'll come back to that thought, okay? So, who loves carbs? Who loves pizza on a Friday night with a beer at a bar? Who loves a nice ice cream on a hot day? Who loves a crisp watermelon on the beach? So good. That's my weakness. I literally could eat an entire huge watermelon. So those are all carbs, and they're all delicious. And first and foremost, I don't want to live in a world where I can't eat carbs. So screw any diet that takes away my watermelon and pizza, right? So do you really think that you will be successful on a diet with under 20 grams of carbs per day? So just to give you a measuring tool, 20 grams of carbs is like An apple, like an apple. The only carb you can have every day is one apple. No rice, no beans, no lentils, no fruits, no vegetables. So all you're left with is meat and fats like peanut butter and nut and avocado and like egg yolk. Could you guys sustain that? Is that pleasurable? Do you have a whole lot of options to work with? No. So just like Cecilia was saying, you saw results. Why? Because it's a very restrictive diet. So automatically you cut out 1/3 of the food available out there, right? Your macronutrients are protein, fats, and carbs. So automatically you've just cut out 1/3 of the entire foods you can eat. So automatically you're eating 1/3 less calories in a day. Is this making sense? So of course you're gonna see results. Of course you're gonna lose some weight because you've just simply cut out foods that you would have eaten otherwise, okay? And here's the things with trendy diets, okay? They get us excited, right? So when you guys hear the word keto or intermittent fasting or new diet, or you see a celebrity or an awesome transformation, you get excited to learn about it, right? Because it's new. And usually new is something you haven't tried before, so you're curious. So they get you on your curiosity. Oh, I've never heard of this before, then it probably has to work because I've never tried it before and everything I've tried hasn't worked. So this is probably the thing I'll stick to. So they get you on your curiosity. And then when they get you on your curiosity, you get excited to start. And when you get excited, you get motivated. And when you get motivated, you stick to something. So you stick to this restrictive diet short term and you see results, right? It just makes sense. But you ladies know, what happens when your motivation is gone? What happens when your family goes out for dinner and they're ordering French fries and you ordered a salad, right? So it's not sustainable long term, okay? Now, let's talk about actual ketogenesis, okay? So ketogenesis, does anybody actually know what that word means? Like what that, it's like a biological process that happens in the body. Do you guys know what that means? So basically, ketogenesis, it just means it's switching your body from using carbs for energy to using fat for energy, okay? Now this is a real thing, okay? Ketogenesis is a real process in the body, but here's the thing, okay? Yes, you can do that. Okay, you must be having a very, very low amount of carbs every day, like I said, below 20 grams, in order to get your body to switch to ketogenesis. But when you are in ketogenesis, meaning your body is now not using sugar as its main fuel source, it's taking fat, breaking fat down, and using that for energy. That is a much longer process. So anybody who's been on the keto diet, put your hands up. How would you say your energy levels were? Probably not the greatest because your body is not efficient at burning fat. It's hard. It's harder on the body. It takes longer and you don't get as much energy from it because there's so many more chemical reactions that have to happen to break it down. Are you guys following this so far? So ketogenesis is a thing. It sounds great, right? You're like, I can make my body burn fat instead of carbs. Like that sounds great out loud. It sounds like the missing key. You're like, well, that's all I gotta do. I'll just go into ketogenesis and my body will burn all my fat. But that's not how it works, right? Our bodies, okay, were made biologically, physiologically, so that our main source of energy comes from sugar, from glucose, right? You've all heard the word glucose. That's the simplest form of sugar. That's what our body likes. Our body's fastest at breaking that down. Our body's really good at storing that for energy later. So we are going against what our biology is made up for by trying to get ourselves in ketogenesis. Is this making sense? Are you understanding why the keto diet isn't going to last for you guys? And do you understand why it probably sounded really exciting for you at the beginning, right? Yeah. So that's the keto diet, okay? Now, I'm not shitting all over the keto diet. Some people have success with it, but very, very, very small percentage, okay? I would even say like less than 1% of people who've tried it, less than 1% are successful long-term and can maintain that diet long-term. And usually that's only because that style of eating is not far off from their original style of eating. So they probably didn't have a whole lot of carbs to begin with, okay? But everybody on this call, put your hands up if you eat lots of carbs. We all eat pretty much a decent amount of carbs, more than 20 grams a day, right? I know I do, 100%. So the keto diet, for general applications, okay, not practical, okay, you're not going to see lasting results. You're actually just going to get super, super frustrated, because also, for those of you who've tried keto before, again, you'll notice that once you do introduce carbs into your diet, you blow up, right? Did you guys experience that when you went off the keto diet? You blew up, you bloated, your body didn't know what was happening. It had a hard time switching over to burning the sugars again. So you blew up. So it's very, very demotivating. High motivation at the beginning, very low motivation at the end. So not a good diet, okay? The proper lifestyle and nutrition change should have a constant, steady stream of motivation all the way through and results, okay? It's gonna vary a little bit, but it should be somewhat constant. Anybody in the academy listening knows what I'm talking about. If you plotted your weight loss on a scale, it would be steadily going down. There's no huge spikes, okay? And that's actually a good indicator of a good diet. No spikes. But unfortunately, all the popular diets out there are huge spikes. If you plot your weight loss on a calendar or on a graph, you go down, up, and it's just way too many spikes. It's actually tough on your body, and it ruins your metabolism, okay? So it's not very practical for the average person, okay? What the keto diet has shown good benefits for is actually, it's been linked to helping people with seizures. I don't know if you guys have heard that before. It's actually recommended for people with seizures or IBS, severe IBS. But other than that, it is not very practical. Is that clear, guys? Do you have any questions about keto? Anything? It is so popular. I will go in depth for you guys. If you have any comments, any questions still about the keto diet, you can write them and I'll get back to them, okay? So that's your keto diet overview, okay? Is anybody tempted to try keto now? No, don't do it. Don't do it. Please don't do it, okay? Now, let's go on to the next popular thing, okay? And that would be intermittent fasting. Who's heard of that? Intermittent fasting or some type of fasting, okay? Who's tried it? Tried some variation of it? It's pretty popular, okay? Who had an unsuccessful experience with it? Who had an unsuccessful experience? Jay Duncan, girl, unmute yourself. I called her out too. Cecilia, she had the same face as you. If you can, unmute yourself.
Hi.
Hello, girlie. Tell me your experience with intermittent fasting.
All my friends and their husbands and everybody else who tried it, they said it really works for them.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, they did if it was a 16-hour and 8-hour fast, or a 16-hour fast, and then you have a window of 8 hours to eat.
Yep.
It did not work for me. I don't know. I was hungry. And I felt hungry all the time.
Yep.
I didn't stick to it very long, so I guess maybe I didn't give it an opportunity to work. But from everybody else who's ever tried it, the reason I tried it was because they said it was simple and it was very easy.
Cool. Okay. So it was no like resounding success. It was just like another attempt. Cool. Okay. That's pretty common to what I hear as well. So for anybody who doesn't know what intermittent fasting is, it's basically all it's saying is you have a larger fast window and a smaller eating window in your day. That's all it is. It's very simple. It is not complicated, okay? There's no magic formula behind it. It's like, you fast for 16 hours and then you only give yourself an 8-hour eating window or something like that. The numbers can change, okay? I've experimented with intermittent fasting. I've experimented with the keto diet. And again, I can tell you it's not sustainable, okay? Same idea happens, right? Intermittent fasting. It's so popular, so many people have tried it. You hear everybody's successes, you get excited to try it. Then you get motivated to try it. Then you actually try it, you see some results. But then when life interrupts, where you can't maintain these specific fasting windows, it completely throws you off and you binge and you spiral out of control again. Is that making sense? Cool. So the only reason, so this is why it does work, okay, ladies? So this is why it works. So the average person day to day usually has about a 12-hour eating window, right? So most people will wake up around 8 and start eating, and then they'll have their last meal around 8. So 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., we fit all our food in. So it's a 12-hour eating window. With intermittent fasting, what it does is it depending on which style you choose, it can turn that 12-hour window into an 8-hour window. So instead of starting eating at 8, you start eating at 12. So now you have 12 p.m. to 8 p.m., an 8-hour window. So the only reason it's successful is because it's given you a little bit less time to eat food in. That's it. That's it. So the reason you're losing weight is because you're eating less food. Only because you've given yourself less time to eat. So that's it. It's very logical. There's no fancy voodoo. There's no fancy metabolism boosting things behind it. Okay, it's just you've given yourself less time to eat. Okay, and many of you listening to this right now probably do some form of fasting yourself, right? We all have an eating schedule. My eating schedule is usually 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. So that's a 7-hour window. So I eat all my food in 7 hours, okay? I am not intentionally intermittent fasting. I don't call what I'm doing fasting. That just works with my schedule, okay? I'm not going to accredit my results to the timing of my eating. Does that make sense? Just because I change the timing of my eating, calories in and calories out is still the name of the game. If I eat too many calories in my shorter window, I'm still going to gain weight. If I eat my maintenance calories in my short window, I'm still going to maintain my weight. Is this making sense? Can you guys see Ducky in the background? She's not interested in the call today. Usually she sits and sleeps. So that's intermittent fasting. All it is saying eat from this time to this time instead of this time to this time. That's all it is, okay? So it only works for people. So everybody you've heard have a success story. It only works because they've been able to sustain that timing up until now. Does that make sense? So all it's allowed them to do is eat less in a shorter amount of time. That's all it's allowed them to do, okay? But the problem with that is, okay, some people get very, very hungry, right? If you stop eating at 6 o'clock at night and you're up until 11, you're gonna get hungry. If you're going through the Fit Queen programs and you're speeding up your metabolism, you're gonna be ready to eat first thing in the morning, right? Anybody who's in the academy probably wakes up really, really hungry, right? So it has its applications, but only to the point where I would say just fit your eating window into your schedule, right? I don't care if you start eating at 6 a.m. and stop eating at 12 a.m. Like, that's still okay. That's still in one day. Timing does not play a huge role, okay? It's more important to focus on the consistency of your eating, aka your eating schedule should look the same every day. That's more important than the timing of your food. Does that make sense, ladies? So that's intermittent fasting, okay? Very, very, very simple. Does that make sense? Did you think it was more complicated than that? That's like all it did. That's all it does, okay? So it's definitely not like the miracle program everybody thinks it is. If it works for people, it's just because their schedule allows for it, and they haven't been challenged outside of that schedule yet, right? If you've picked a 12 to 8 p.m. fasting window, what happens if you're going to the beach all day with your family and that's a 2-hour drive and you're on the beach with no food for 2 hours, then you have 2 hours to drive home? What if you can't eat between 12 and 8? Then what happens? Then you have to go outside of your window. And same idea from the keto diet. What happens when you introduce carbs again? It's not common. You didn't teach yourself the skills to prepare during hard times, during inconvenient times to last. It's just worked for you and it's just been convenient for you because life has been convenient up until this point and your schedule has been constant up until this point. Does that make sense? So that's intermittent fasting, okay? If you guys have any other questions regarding that, put them in the comments and I will get to them. Let me see. So your range, so Riley's asking, your range should be the same that you eat for each meal. So Riley, this can be person to person. So she's asking spacing between meals, guys. So you can really eat however you want, okay? Again, experiment to find, number one, what's convenient for you in your schedule. Number two, what's going to keep you fuller for longer as far as the spacing of your meals. What's going to reduce your cravings the most and your snacking the most. And what can you replicate day in and day out for the most part. That is more important than the spacing and the timing of the food that you were eating. Does that make sense? That's the most important factor. Can you be consistent with your eating schedule day in and day out? Okay, I don't care when you start eating. I don't care when you stop eating, as long as every day you try to keep that same schedule. Okay, because the key for anything in life, the key for any goal, any success you want, it's consistency, right? You're not going to be consistent on a diet if you change it up every day. You just won't, because then you have all these different variables coming into play, and then when you have a road bump, you don't know which variable to tweak because there's so many, right? So that's super important there, okay? Now, next fad diet, okay, or next popular diet that has been around for a long time, Weight Watchers. All right, who's heard of Weight Watchers? We've all heard of it. Who's tried it? I bet most people tried it here. Okay, who was unsuccessful? If you're in this program, that means you were unsuccessful, right? Arlene, unmute yourself, girl.
Hello.
Hey, girl, tell me about your Weight Watchers experience.
First, I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
And then when I tried it like 3 times, and then when they got the whole, you can eat any vegetable, any chicken, whatever, like that, it was still, you know what, like, I didn't understand it.
Yep.
It worked for others. My sister-in-law had success. I did not.
Yep. Beautiful. Love it. So this is really funny because, you know, we try all of these different meal plans, usually because somebody's referred them to us, right? Usually because we've heard a friend or of a friend be so successful. And you're like, if they can do it, I can do it. And then when it's successful for somebody else, it's almost never successful for you. Has anybody else realized that? When like one of your friends recommends something and they swear by it, and then you try it, you're like, well, they hyped me up for that, and that was not what I thought it would be, right? So what R said was, first of all, really wise. So first and foremost, it's slightly confusing, right? For those of you who don't know, Weight Watchers works off of a point system, right? So you're allowed a certain amount of points in a day. Say you're allowed 20 points in a day, and each item of food you choose has a certain measurement, and that food equals a certain amount of points. So you can you just kind of mix and match to get your points, okay? Now, that's similar to our meal plans, right? You mix and match to build meals, okay? But here's the thing with Weight Watchers, okay? They get you so obsessed with a point number that you forget to always choose the nutrition option instead of the lower point option. You forget to look at food as fuel. Instead, you look at it as points instead of fuel. So something like this kind of interrupts a healthy relationship with food. Is that making sense, ladies? So a lot of people have success on this. Why? Because simply they now have a limit of the food they can eat, and if they stick within their points, they've restricted the food they would have eaten if they otherwise wouldn't have had points, right? But this is actually really cool. So I think it was a couple weeks ago, one of our Fit Queens posted to the challenge group, and they were like, I tried Weight Watchers before this. I didn't have any success. I was given 15 points per day to eat. And I just inputted all my food from the Fit Queen challenge into the Weight Watchers app, and I ate 6 points worth of food. So that is so cool to me. So Weight Watchers gave her 15 points to eat, okay? And then she went to our program, she tried our meal plan, and she was so full and had so much food, and she was like, no way this is gonna work. She then cross-referenced with Weight Watchers, and she was actually only at 6 points on Weight Watchers, on our diet. So it's crazy how, you know, our thinking of carbs are bad, or eating late at night is bad, or eating too much is bad, right? Like if you eat the right foods, generally speaking, there's not too much compared to something that is unhealthy. So that is so, so cool, okay? Again, Weight Watchers has worked for some, but most of the women that I know who've tried it, they can't sustain it, because you don't want to be counting your points the rest of your life. You don't want to be counting your points when you go to a restaurant, right? And then if you go over your points, you freak out. You stress out, right? So it's not super, super sustainable long-term, just because that point system kind of messes with your head a little bit, and it changes the way that you look at food, right? And you guys know, health is a forever lifestyle, right? So what you start should be something that you're able to maintain forever. So do not put yourself in a situation where you're starting something that you're already trying to finish. Do you guys get that? why do we keep starting things that we can't wait for them to be over? Or we can't wait for our next cheat meal, right? That's not going to help you when life gets rough. That's easy to do when life's convenient, when work's slow, when you're not sick, when the weather's warm, when you can take time off. Like, it's easy when nothing in life is going on. But hell no, you're not going to be able to maintain it when life goes to shit. And it does. We all go through seasons, right? Some of you are in the easy phase right now. Some of you are in the eating shit phase right now of life. So we go through phases. So Weight Watchers is, I mean, I'm not going to shit all over it because it's helped a lot of people. But again, for the most part, it's not going to help you long term. And that's what Ara was saying. Arlene kind of figured that out on her own. It's not something you can maintain. You don't necessarily want to be logging your food all the time, especially. So here's the thing. Has anybody heard of macronutrient counting or calorie counting? So that's kind of the next level, okay? So that's similar to Weight Watchers, but similar in the fact that we're tracking numbers, but different in the fact that when you do macronutrient counting or calorie counting, you're now learning your foods. You're now choosing healthier options because healthier options are more nutrient dense and less calorically dense. So you're learning what's in your food as opposed to just choosing food based on a number. Okay, so there are levels to it. But again, why do all of our Fit Queens love the meal plans we have so much? Because they're so simple. They're so simple. You don't have to think about what you're going to eat, how much you're going to eat, when you're going to eat it. It's so simple. Pick, choose, put it together, and eat it. Done. It's fast. It's flexible. Okay, and you don't have to count anything. You don't have to do any calculations. You don't have to track it anywhere. You just follow what you're doing. You're going to see results. Period. Right? And there's only 3 variables. All right, in the Fit Queen approach, our 3-pillar approach, there's only 3 variables that if you're not seeing results or if you're plateauing or if you're struggling, there's only 3 variables to look at as opposed to a million other variables with all the programs out there, right? The keto diet, did I go over my grams? Did I have enough fat? What about my protein? Like, there's so many variables in that. My intermittent fasting, do I need to extend my window, shorten my window, change my food types? Weight Watchers, do I need to adjust my points? Do I need to, I couldn't find my Weight Watchers bread. There's so many different variables. There's only 3 variables to keep track of in Fit Queen. It's nutrition, it's fitness, and accountability. Are you following the meal plan exactly? Yes? Awesome. No? Follow it exactly. How do you follow it exactly? It's straightforward. There's no questions in that. You know what to do. If you're not following it, you know what to do to follow it, right? If somebody says, I only lost 1 pound last week, I want to lose more, I say, what can you do better? And they say, well, I didn't follow the meal plan. What can you do better? Well, I didn't drink my 4 liters of water. Boom, you know, right? So there's no need to feel overwhelmed or confused anymore, right? When I was on my weight loss journey and losing my 70 pounds, I would have breakdowns all the time because the scale wouldn't move and I wouldn't know what the hell I did wrong. Is anybody else in that boat? You just stare at the scale or you look in the mirror and you're like, what am I doing wrong? I thought I was doing everything right. And then you don't know what you did wrong, so you have no idea how to fix it. And you get overwhelmed, and that's usually when you give up, right? So when you dumb things down and you simplify things, the chance of being overwhelmed is very, very little. That's why one of our golden 5 is facts over feelings. You have 3 variables, 3 facts to look at, not 10, not 20. So when you look at the facts, your emotions take a backseat, and then you know what your next move should be. So you can no longer use, I don't know what to do, I'm just gonna do nothing as an excuse. Because I've been there. I did that so many freaking times, okay? So the 3 variables that we look at, fitness, nutrition, and accountability, right? So are you following the meal plan? Yes? Okay, awesome. So that can't be it. Am I showing up to the workouts? Yes, I'm doing all of my workouts every week, okay? So that can't be the reason why you're plateauing. Am I showing up to the coaching calls? No. So that's what I need to do. That will speed up my progress. If you're showing up to the coaching calls and showing up to the workout, then you're not following the meal plan. And that's why you're plateauing. If you're following the meal plan and showing up to the coaching calls, then you're doing something wrong in the workouts. There's only 1 of 3 things going on, right? Does that make sense, guys? It's so simple, right? There's no need to feel anxious or overwhelmed. Yes, those feelings are natural, and yes, they come up, and yes, I still experience them. If anybody looked at my Instagram story today, Today was one of those days where I was in my head and I was, blaming my situation, like, what was me? If I wasn't like in this situation, I'd be able to do this. And then I realized, no, I'm in control. Let me look at the facts. Let me look at the 3 variables and let me see what my next step should be to make myself get out of this and not feel like this anymore and work towards my goal. Right? So the first step in making sure that you make it past the level that you keep getting stuck on is to reduce your overwhelm. Does this make sense? Okay, because being overwhelmed is the biggest cause for inaction. Biggest cause for inaction. And inaction is when you die. That is when all your results go to shit. When you choose not to do something because you don't know what to do, that's when your results are about to suffer. When you just pick something to do and you do it, that's when you leveled up and made it past that level you kept getting stuck on before. Is that clear? Is that kind of making sense? Any light bulbs going off right now? Very, very simple, guys. You have to reduce your overwhelm at all times. And that's also why it's really helpful to have a community, right? Because number one, they can help motivate you when you're mentally off. And number two, you get to see people real time, real life, talk through their struggles and not just talk through it, implement their plan. And then you get to see people overcome their struggles, not just people who already overcame them and talk about how they overcame them, right? Like you guys know, I'm sure you've seen this, like every kind of weight loss ad out there is people who've lost the weight. Every Instagram model out there is people who've already lost the weight. So you don't ever really get to experience real-time struggles with anybody. So sometimes those people or those ads, they seem inhuman. They seem like these perfect pedestal peoples because they've already reached their goal. So and then you disconnect from them and you're like, well, I'm not them, so I'll never get there, right? When you don't see people going through real-time struggles, you think your struggles are bigger than they are because you're not surrounded by these struggles all the time. But in the community, you can see us talk through struggles. We are human. We're not perfect. We have plateaus. We have cravings. We have parties. We PMS. Like life happens and we mess up. And what's so awesome about this community is everybody talks about when they messed up, they own up, they plan, and then they don't just say they're going to do better, they actually do better. And then you get to see them do better. And then that reduces your overwhelm for your struggle, and that gives you more conviction in your own self-confidence. If they can do it, I can do it. I watched them work through it. I didn't just see them on the other end. I watched them work through it. You guys can see the difference there? It seems much more attainable and much more realistic and much less far away. Because some days, on our bad days, our goals just seem so far away, right? You guys ever have those days where it's like, oh, I'm still so far to go. I'm never going to get there. Why am I even doing this? Like we all have those days, right? But on those days, you can go back into your memory. You can go back into the Facebook group and see people who are in the same spot as you, who made it out and became stronger because of it, real time. And recently, not a year ago, not 5-10 years ago, but like last week, which is really exciting. So that's why this is so cool. So things like that is what really is going to set you apart. Okay, so I wanted to break down these myths of these popular diets because you guys still are wired, and myself included, still wired for instant gratification. It's been built in us since the day we were born. Everything we're exposed to is instant gratification, right? Right? Eat all your dinner and you'll get dessert. Right away, you got dessert. Right? Work through high school, you get a diploma. Like everything happens relatively fast. So when you have to work for something, it's not as appealing. So these buzzwords and these new diets that come up, keto, fasting, Weight Watchers, body type diets, all these really cool, interesting new things you haven't heard before, they still get to you on some subconscious level, right? You guys see an ad and you still get excited about it a little bit, right? That's because it's that instant gratification talking in your head, trying to convince you that it's a new thing that you need. Instead of realizing that it's not making it to level 1 on 100 different things, it's making it to level 100 on one thing. So you got to fight, okay? So I want to break all these myths so you can justify talking back to that instant gratification. You can shut that instant gratification down in the moment, because now you know. Now you can't use "I don't know" as an excuse for letting your instant gratification win. Is that making sense, guys? Can we all agree we still are hot-wired for instant gratification, right? We want to see quick results. We want to be on a plan short term so we can go back to the way we were before, right? We have all these short-term goals, short-term instant gratification things we're looking for, right? We want to fit into that dress right away. We want to get a compliment from our husband right away, right? But now that you kind of know, and now that we start to break down the layers of all the things that are being offered to you that spark that instant gratification, now you have facts to combat that natural reaction of instant gratification. Does that make sense? So that's just one tool you can have in your toolbox to help you succeed long term. Knowing these things, being prepared with a strategy for when you are faced in a situation where something is being offered to you, where it would fulfill that instant gratification hole that you're looking for. Like a new diet, like a new plan, like a new app, like a new supplement, all of that stuff, okay? So, quickly in the comments, let's hear your takeaway, okay? What is your takeaway from this call, guys, so far? Did you learn something new about the keto diet? Did you learn something new about intermittent fasting? Did you learn something new about Weight Watchers? Did you want to try those things after this, but now you're like, hell no. Like, where is your mind at based on this information? I want to see how you're processing it. So Rosemary, most diets are fads. Amira, good things take time. Mackie, none of the fad diets are sustainable. That's the truth. It's sad because they're the most easily accessible, right? The most easily accessible and the most popular, and they're the ones that come to your mind first when you're ready for help. So it's sad that they're not the ones that are going to help you long term. Angela, Fit Queen is the best solution. Yes, Angela, carbs are not bad. Hell no, carbs are heaven. Beverly, slow and steady. You need all food groups. Exactly. You never should be cutting anything out. Even candy, even donuts are allowed. If I'm failing in one area, reevaluate and strategize. Good takeaway, Kelly. I like that. Casey, yes, don't listen to buzzwords. So important, because we're still sold on buzzwords. Our buzzwords they still activate that instant gratification. Consistency in what you do. Love it. Most diets are just lifestyle, or just diets, not lifestyle changes. Patience. Yes, gameplay. I like that, Maureen. You got to stick to the nutrition. Teji says she didn't even know what keto was before the call. That's cool. That's cool. I really, really like that. I want to go back to Angela Hendrich. So this is a really good example, guys. So Angela Hendrich, she's one of our Academy Queens. And she was struggling with breaking, I don't remember what the number was. She's breaking a certain amount of kilograms she's weighing. She's trying to break it. I think 2 or 3 weeks she was plateauing. She couldn't figure out what was going wrong, right? She reached out to us and she was like, what's going on? So number one, she restored responsibility, right? So she's not seeing results. She restored responsibility. She said, the only thing to blame is me. How do I fix it? What am I missing? Right? And that's so cool to me, because in the Academy, that becomes your automatic thinking, right? Does anybody now still play a little bit of the victim, right? When there's a problem, we tend to say, oh, what happened? Who did that? Why did you do that? Or why did that happen to me? Instead of saying, how did I contribute to that happening, right? So the Academy, we actually rewire the way that you think. So Angela was a really cool example of that. I got to see how she's rewiring her brain. And because of that, she came back last week and she crushed her weigh-in. So not only did she reach out when she was struggling, she implemented our strategy, she saw results, and then she proved to herself that she can overcome the next obstacle that comes her way. Right? Because how many people on some subconscious level are still afraid of going back to where they were, of falling back into old habits, right? You're still afraid of that. But when you go through a situation like Angela did, and so many of our Fit Queens and Academy Queens have done, you now prove to yourself that you're not going to give up like you did in the past. And you prove to yourself that you can actually do it when times are hard, not just when times are easy. And that's really, really amazing to start to build up that self-confidence. That takes a long time. Does anybody have self-confidence in themselves to be strict, to be on point, to be healthy when life has gone to shit? Can anybody name a list of times that they've done that and proven to themselves? Very few people have a very long list. The list is short because you failed and you've disappointed yourself time and time again because you didn't have the right tools, aka you didn't have Fit Queen, right? So it's so cool that you start building this list of evidence proving to yourself that you can actually do this long term. You can actually make it to the next level and be stronger on the next level, which is really, really cool. So I just want to quickly shout out Angela. A lot of the Fit Queens are going through that same revelation. Shout out if you've gone through that revelation. Has anybody gone through that on their own too? Like plateaued, been frustrated, not know what to do. In the old them would have just given up and said, this didn't work. But new you is saying, what can I change going forward so I'm stronger? Who's had that shift? Who's had that mindset shift where they were faced with a struggle and decided to keep going uphill instead of roll down the hill? Yeah, love it. Love it. You guys are warriors now, which is really, really, really cool. And everybody's showing love to Angela in the comments. I love that. That's so nice. Bev said she's been told her whole life she was a failure. And whether or not you were actively told that or that was instilled in you psychologically, it's there. It's there. The culture and the society we live in, women are less than. We can't be bossy. We can't, or we're considered bitchy. We can't do this. We can't go to work because then we can't take care of our family and we're not nurturing. Like there's so many expectations of women and we still are afraid of people's judgment. We still wonder are we being good wives, good mothers, good sisters, good friends? We still question that all the time, only because society has told us to be like this, but nobody is actually like this. Nobody is. So anytime we fall short of that, which is every time, by the way, every time, and anytime you fall short of society's expectations, you chip away at your self-confidence. You chip away like a little ice pick, you chip away. And depending on your age, if you've been in this for decades, you have very little self-confidence left. Can I get an amen? Who's there? Who's hanging on by a fucking thread because you've been beat down so many times? That's bullshit. That's bullshit, and that has to stop. But that's just the game. Unfortunately, that's life, and that's the card we've been dealt. So now we take that experience, I take my experience in that, and I fast track your results so that you guys don't have to go through that to the degree that I went through it. So you don't have to chip away at your self-confidence anymore. You can actually start building on that self-confidence and build it back up. And then change your expectations. It's not here anymore. You get to change your own and create your own ideas and own relationships and own expectations and society norms of yourself. So that's something cool that happens with Fit Queen too, guys. Okay, so that is my little rant for today. Does anybody have any last questions before we pop off? Any questions? Go ahead and write any questions, any comments you guys want to say. Again, any revelations you want to remember, comment them down. Deanna says it took her over 16 years to get diagnosed with celiac. Yep, and as a result, there's been many other health issues. Oh, I bet. So she said IBS, malabsorption. Yeah, and that's so unfortunate, Deanna, but that's, you know what? That's your journey. That's made you who you are. And here's one thing. This took me a long time to come to terms with, okay? You cannot love yourself fully without loving everything that made you you. That includes all the shitty, bad stuff that we want to forget. If you're all about body positivity and self-love, then you have to love every aspect of you in your life. So Deanna's a great example. Every horrible health issue, every upset stomach, every doctor's visit, every bloating, every horrible situation, you have to say thank you. Thank you that I went through that. That's made me who I am today. I learned things from that. I grew from that, and that has made me into who I am today. So if you guys really want to reach true health, true happiness, you have to love all of you, including, the bad stuff that made you. And that's something that I really, really struggled with for a long time. My parents divorced I want to say 7, 8 years ago, my parents got a divorce. And I was super bitter about it. And, and for so long I focused on all the things that they didn't give me. How could they do this? How could they treat me like this? How could they not give me this or whatever? All the things that they didn't teach me. For so long I focused on this. And then when I realized that situation actually made me mature faster, it actually made me develop my communication skills. It actually made me be able to face uncomfortable conversations. It actually made me be able to learn how to heal a relationship. And because of, and actually, for the most part, all of my amazing qualities that I'm super proud of and I've worked really hard to acquire, they came from the bad experiences. Can you guys believe that? All the things that I love about myself were born from a bad experience. It took me a long time to actually come to peace with that. And I can truly say that I appreciate every aspect. I no longer carry resentment or anger or any expectation. I am free, I am happy, and I do love every part of my past. And that goes for any experience, any trauma you've had in your past. You have to accept it. It's not going to change. Like who has something in their past that they don't like reliving? Who has some trauma? You don't have to share it, but everybody does. Put your fucking hand up. Everybody does. To some fucking degree, we had some shit we wish didn't happen, whatever it was, okay? Who has come to terms with it? Honestly, 100%. Who's come to terms with it? A couple people, yeah, maybe about 50%. Those of you who've come to terms with it, has it not taught you so much? Has it not shaped you into who you are in such a good way? And that's why another one of our golden 5 is pursue pain. Make yourself uncomfortable. Look for areas and put yourself in situations where you're not good at something, where you might actually fail at something. So you can learn something new, so you can challenge yourself, so you can get comfortable feeling like shit. So you can prove to yourself that it's only temporary. Then the next time you eat shit, the next time you fail at something, the feeling's temporary and you've already beaten it before, so you just got to give it time. That's it. That's how you play the game. Right? So that's something that I'm really passionate about. I'm at peace with my past. And if you guys can take anything away from this, I hope it's that, pay attention to how you react to things. Okay? You guys are, and I am wired for instant gratification. Deeply, deeply, dangerously wired for instant gratification. And that could be a killer. That could be the thing that kills you one day, instant gratification, right? So be aware of how you're reacting, notice your instant gratification, and then talk yourself through it with facts that we share with you, right? These are the facts, these are the feelings that you're having, but these facts disprove these feelings, so you shouldn't feel this way, right? So that's thing number 1. Be hyper aware of your need to be instantly gratified, okay? And then be hyper aware of why you do the things that you do. Right? Why do you act the way that you do? Why do you respond the way that you do in terms of your past experiences? Right? If you really want to love who you are, right? Because if you guys are here, it means you want to lose weight, you want to tone up. What do those things lead to? How do you reach those things? Well, you have to become healthy. How do you become healthy? Well, it starts physically, but then it changes mentally. How do you become truly healthy? Well, you have to love yourself. How do you love yourself? You have to accept all of you. And that's the hard part. That's the part that nobody tells you. That's the part that all of these other fad diets leave out, right? The biggest hole that's missing. That's what it is. It has that many layers, right? It's not sexy to talk about. It's not a buzzword. It doesn't stimulate your instant gratification, so you're not going to click on it or want to try it right away. But that's what it is, right? So again, be aware of your instant gratification and be aware that we're working to 100% accepting yourself. And that means breaking down the layers. Duffy says it's time to get off, ladies. So thank you for listening.